Moving to a new town can be frightening and intimidating. Heck, anything brand new can be. But knowing the area around you can help make it feel like a safe place to live in. It's the same with childcare. Today we'll be exploring the ins and outs of childcare in Boise, Idaho. This is Jordan Daw, and you're listening to Home Away from Home. You want your children to feel comfortable around their new caregivers, just like you would while you are at work. Knowing which childcare facility your children will be attending will help you decide if it is a good home away from home for your children. It'll help you feel more comfortable at your children's safety while they are at childcare. The topic of childcare can range all the way from the cost childcare facilities charge to the areas they populate to the licensing of childcare facilities. Not every family needs a childcare facility to watch their children, though. A method most families use is having relatives watch their children for free so they don't have to pay the expensive costs of childcare. But not everyone has the option of having relatives watch their children while they are at work. A few of my friends and people that I have met over the years experienced their grandparents watching them while they were still children. I'll be talking about what exactly childcare facilities go through when it comes to licensing and what challenges parents face when looking for childcare within the city of Boise, Idaho. Licensing a childcare facility is one thing that Quality Childcare believes has gotten relaxed just over the past few years. Sean and Christina Daw, my parents, and the owners of Quality Childcare, have been running their in-home daycare for over 18 years. Prior to January 2019, the City of Boise's requirements for annual renewal of their licenses were to become CPR First Aid certified, to go through a background check through City of Boise, renew their Idaho Child Protection Registry check application, redo the Healthy Initiative training, have prior approval from Planning and Zoning, and pass the inspections of both Central District Health and City Clerk. Stated in the City of Boise's website as of January 2019, there were changes to these rules so that every other year they must get their CPR First Aid certification, obtain a updated license, and every 3 years they must renew their Idaho Child Protection Registry check application. If the owners take Idaho Child Care Program clients, or notably called ICCP clients, these new changes don't affect them. They still must follow the old rules, since ICCP is a statewide program where City of Boise is strictly just overlooking Boise. My parents are one of the few facilities within Boise that take ICCP clients. We have many parents looking for childcare for special needs children, but sadly we had to turn them down because our home isn't wheelchair accessible and my parents didn't have some of the qualifications needed to take them as a client. So we know what owners of these facilities are having to go through, but what about the workers or volunteers? Workers and volunteers must go through CPR First Aid training, a background check through City of Boise, obtain their Idaho Child Protection Registry check application, and go through Healthy Initiative training as well. This process takes around 4 to 6 months to complete, which is why it's so difficult for childcare facilities to find workers and volunteers willing to help. In-home daycares have it worse, though. Any member in the family 13 years and older must get their worker license. It's a requirement by the City of Boise. That means that I was required by the City of Boise to get all those qualifications while I was in 7th grade. One thing that comes along with this strenuous licensing process is finding time to do all the parts. All 270 childcare facilities in Idaho must be licensed, including the workers. Volunteers even must go through a strenuous background check, obtain a license, go through processing, obtain a photo ID, and more according to the City of Boise's requirements on their website underneath the tab labeled Boise Childcare. This used to not be required by the City of Boise. If Boise could fit more childcare facilities into the Treasure Valley, they would, but not so many people are willing to go through the process to obtain the qualifications in order to run a childcare facility. If we had more facilities, meaning more people willing to go through the strenuous license process, more families could have the option of putting their children into highly qualified childcare facilities. I have been a part of this community ever since 2 months after I was born. That shows that I have been through the process of getting licensed ever since I was 13. 1 year I went through the process of becoming a worker instead of a volunteer. I didn't realize how long the Healthy Initiative training takes and how in-depth it goes. It can take up to about 20 hours to go through the videos, quizzes, and tests at the end of each chapter. You also must pass the quizzes and tests with a minimum of 80% or a minimum of 100%. Knowing how long the process takes and experience it for myself has opened my eyes to see why finding childcare in the first place is difficult for parents. But what happens if a childcare facility doesn't get their proper licensing? If a childcare facility doesn't get their proper licensing, then the facility is illegal. I know of many people that will have family friends watch multiple children for a fraction of the cost of licensed childcare facilities, but your children's safety will decrease. Once someone is watching more than 6 children in the state of Idaho, they must obtain a facility and owner license to run the childcare. There was a case back in 2016 stated in the Idaho Statesman where a child was injured at an unlicensed child care facility. The Boise Police Department had to shut it down, and in fact, they found multiple facilities in the surrounding area that were running daycares illegally. The lawsuit isn't complete yet, and the results have not been released to the public. I have not been able to find what happens to child care facilities that are caught for not being licensed. So when someone is looking for childcare, be sure to ask if they are licensed, and make sure to ask them if you can see their license. If they choose not to show you, it's most likely because they are running a facility illegally. Another reason why unlicensed childcare facilities are bad for your children, according to Shannon M. Robson, Jane C. Curry, Heidi J. Colcorf, and Kristen Copeland, stated in their scientific journal, Dietary Intake of Children Attending Full-Time Childcare, What Are They Eating Away from the Childcare Center, is because they don't feed their kids the most nutritious meals. Since Michelle Obama made nutrition a part of her campaign while her husband was in office called Let's Move, it has affected anyone that cares for children. Many organizations, such as schools, care facilities, and other companies, are encouraged to offer healthy options. At child care facilities, they have the option to go through an extra training called Healthy Initiatives. Most facilities are encouraged by the city of Boise, but not all facilities are trained. 169 out of all of the 270 child care facilities in Boise are not labeled as Healthy Initiative child care providers, as stated in the city of Boise. Now that we have talked a bit about the licensing of daycares, let's move to the topic of what parents face when looking for childcare. Sean and Christina say that most parents that use childcare facilities to watch their children are single parents or couples who choose to work during the same hours. For single parents, it's hard to have their children in childcare while working full-time. On average, childcare can cost up to $7,000 per year. If you only make $40,000 a year, that is roughly 20% of your annual income going towards childcare. Most starting out single parents make anywhere from $30,000 to $45,000 a year. That isn't enough to take care of bills and pay for childcare. You'll need to take on extra hours at work or find a cheaper solution to childcare. Some parents try to find a friend, a nanny, babysitter, etc. that they can trust to watch their children while they are at work. Babysitters' prices can range, though. Their prices are never consistent. It all depends on the hourly wage you are paying them, how many kids they are watching, and the number of hours they will be watching your child or children for. Another issue that can arise is not being able to find a place to watch your children. One of my parents' clients were trying to get into the YMCA's program for the summer, but she couldn't get her kid in because they were full. They had a 6-month wait list for their summer programs, 4 weeks before summer started. You could end up paying around $110 or more per weekend that your child is there. That's expensive. If I had children, I would not want to spend that much with some strangers to watch my kids with how much I make per month. Childcare can be rough, but knowing the ins and outs of childcare is one thing that could benefit you the next time someone is looking for legal, affordable childcare. Sure, the licensing process is very intricate and strenuous, but someone must be out there willing to care for your children when you can't. The next time you are looking for affordable childcare, remember this podcast. Special thanks to Sean and Christina Daw, the City of Boise, Robson, Curry, Colcorf, Copeland, and everyone else that took part in gathering statistics on childcare for giving me valuable information towards my research. I hope you enjoyed listening to Home Away from Home.